Today we're talking about the ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula and why, his latest outburst isn't just a random slip of the tongue, but really part of something the United States, is watching very vigorously. And it joins really a dangerous pattern that's, being flagged in the United States, official documents, right? And that document happens to be the 2024 report on South Africa. So last week, Mbalula stood at a podium, mocked Afrikaners, refugees, and, went as far to claim that 49 car guards arrived in America. Can't make this up. And in less than a week of being there, they started killing each other. That's according to Mbalula, close quote. Now, you'll probably wonder, where did he get this information from, right? And I'll tell you where he got the information from. This information came from, a TikTok video, which is not credible journalism. It appears to be pulled straight from a racist TikTok video, a video that twisted a real tragedy, because it is a real tragedy or what happened, that the murder of a South African teacher called Kim White Town by her American partner, right, or husband, has now turned into a false story about Afrikaner refugees killing each other. Now, the facts confirmed by IOL, which is Independent Online, the newspaper owned by Dr. Iqbal Survey, tells a completely different story. Kim was married to an American military veteran. You need to highlight American military veteran, not an Afrikaner car guard. And her death was a case of domestic violence, not some racialized refugee narrative. So why does this matter beyond just Mbalula's said something, Because honestly speaking, Mbalula said something very dumb. And that's because, the United States, human rights report, the one released this year, had something specifically warning that South Africans officials have been making inflammatory racial statements targeting minorities, and that the government has failed to investigate or punish them. That's according to the report. Now, this isn't my opinion, I need to highlight. It's written in black and white. The report says, and I quote, "The ANC has engaged in racial rhetoric against Afrikaners." Close quote. Officials have stocked division instead of protecting minorities, which is another point raised in the report, by the way. And extremist political allies like the EFF, which is still in the report, have openly incited violence, reviving songs like "Kill the Boer," "One Bullet, One Settler," while farm murders climb into the hundreds. Can't make this stuff up, as I've said. The report also warns about the expropriation bill, which is now law, which allows the state to seize your land, as well as, according to the report, to seize Afrikaner-owned farms without compensation. All in a political climate where the ANC leaders publicly mock and vilify that same community. So let's connect the dots, right? Let's do that. Mbalula's TikTok's pie jab wasn't just an offhand joke. It was another example of the government using misinformation to dehumanize a racial minority. And according to the US, well, their human rights body reported that this kind of rhetoric isn't just ugly, it's part of a broader human rights problem in South Africa. Can't make this up. And, the funny thing is South Africa, a country that stands for human rights. Now, some will say, isn't this hypocrisy? The same ANC government that pushed through, a hate speech bill, giving itself the power to prosecute you for harmful speech, is perfectly fine with one of its top leaders pushing fake racial stories. Speak of hypocrisy. That is stirring real injustice. Now, AfriForum's Ernest van Zyl called it blatant racism, and he's, well, right, I guess. Because when you combine race-based laws like BEE, land expropriation without compensation, a spike in farm murders, and senior government figures spreading lies about white South Africans, you're not looking at one official incident. You're looking at exactly what the US report describes. A government that fails to protect minorities and actively contributes to the hostility they face. Here's the real danger. In a country already facing daily load shedding, rampant crime, unemployment, and collapsing infrastructure, the ruling party's go-to move is still to play the race card. Now with a TikTok filter. And instead of fixing the mess, they're distracting the public with scapegoats. Mbalula's little performance might have given some laughs from the party faithful, but it has real-world consequences. Words from leaders, set the tone. And when the tone is lies, racial mockery, and scapegoating, it fuels the exact tensions that the human rights, this report warns about. If South Africa wants to avoid becoming a full-blown case study in how to destroy social cohesion, it's time to hold the leaders to the same standard they demand everyone else. Because here's the truth. Leaders don't get to hide behind free speech when they're in power. They don't get to peddle TikTok conspiracies without consequences. And they definitely don't get to pretend this is about unity while they're tearing the country apart. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put that on hold for a second. Now, we know that Minister Parks Tau, Minister of Trade and Industry, has sent out a new package deal of investment to the US, which we have not heard a thing about. But while that was happening, General Ruzani went over to Iran and became cozy with the Terranians. You can't make this up, guys. Our international policy and the way we function in this country is going to be the death of us. My plea to the government and to you at home, we've got to change things if we are to save South Africa. We must remember that this notion of I am Swati before I'm South African, I'm Zulu before I'm South African, I'm Afrikaner before I'm South African is wrong. We've got to be South African before we're any tribal group or racial group. Let us stand together, guys. Today's video is a little bit of hope and, let's really stand together, guys, honestly speaking. This has been 10 Minutes with Kuhle. Remember, you can sign up for membership. It's as cheap as 20 Rand. It helps to keep the channel going, as well as you can like, share, and subscribe. It really helps and goes a long way. Till next time, bye.